Hi, I'm Erin, a sport and exercise psychologist who works with the England Power Chair football team. The aim of these podcasts is to give you bite-sized insights from sports psychology that you can listen to on the go, so you can begin to apply these ideas to your own preparation and performances or support others to do so. Today's mini podcast is all about tapping into your athletic identity and considering yourself as a person first and a player or athlete second, so that you can create a balanced identity. This balanced identity is key for you to thrive, not only in power chair football, but also in other aspects of your life, making sure you can bring your best selves to your performance and maintain your mental health and well-being. In this podcast, we will explore what we mean by identity, discover the benefits of having a varied identity, consider the drawbacks of overemphasizing one identity, for example, focusing too much on our athletic identity, and explore how you can build a varied identity to support your well-being and performance. So, what do we actually mean when we're talking about our identity? So these questions might come up. So who are you? How do you think about yourself? How are you viewed by others, and is that important to you? What characteristics and personality traits define you? And what roles do you play? For example, you might be an athlete, a daughter or a son, a friend, a partner or a parent. And these questions might seem quite challenging to think about. But if we take social media as an example, we often find ways to express our identities through our bios. Whether we're talking about our sport, our jobs, our family life, or our interests. So we're actually better at reflecting on and expressing our identities than we think. So perhaps take a minute to reflect on some of these key questions. What characteristics define you? And what roles do you play? What's your identity? So why is this important? Well, our identity gives us a sense of purpose. This is perhaps why the past year has been so difficult for many of us, as the things that usually help us to define our identity haven't always been possible. Whether that's going to school, going to work, socialising, or playing sport. And our identity can also give us a sense of belonging. And again, this has perhaps been particularly impacted over the past year, as we've not been able to be part of our communities as much as usual. And so if we focus more specifically on athletic identity, so your identity within sport, this can bring a sense of pride. This can also mean that we increase our effort that we put into our training and our performance, and it keeps us motivated to fulfill our ambitions. So all of these benefits mean that building a strong athletic identity is important and has great value. However, there can be drawbacks of over-focusing on our athletic identity. And so this would mean, while putting all of our focus into our sport, we are perhaps neglecting other areas of our lives. And by doing this, we might be increasing performance pressure. If we're completely focused on performance and results, and this might be where we get lots of our confidence from as an individual, this can really increase the pressure we feel to perform because we put lots of importance on the outcome of matches, and perhaps too much importance. This increased pressure can then mean that it's more challenging to perform well and deliver those performances that we're looking for. Over-focusing on athletic identity can also negatively impact our mental health and well-being. While this athletic identity can bring many positive things into our lives, focusing solely on our sport can mean that we neglect the other aspects of our lives that we would like to build, such as our confidence, building our social skills, helping us to form meaningful relationships. And performance pressure can also negatively impact our well-being, so it's really important to strive for balance. Burnout can also be caused by overtraining and over-focusing on our sport, and this would result in physical and mental fatigue and a reduced enjoyment of the sport. And then finally, by over-focusing on this athletic identity, moments of transition can be particularly challenging. For example, if you were to get injured, have a period of illness, or retire from your sport, what would that mean for you and your identity if you've always been solely focused on your sport? The past year has demonstrated how challenging life can be without powerchair football, and this is perhaps partly because we wrap a lot of our identity into our sport. This can lead to decreased motivation, a decreased sense of purpose, and reduced enjoyment of our lives. And therefore, it's important to strive for a balanced identity that means you focus on both your sport, but also those other aspects of your lives, so that in moments of challenge or transition, you're better equipped to manage and maintain your mental health and your performance. So, what can we do to find balance? Start by reflecting on these key questions. Think about, how are you spending your time? And this might have changed over the past year, but how have you spent your time during previous football seasons? And then reflect on whether you're happy with how you're spending this time, or if there's other things that you would like to be doing more of or less of. Think about why you're playing powerchair football. While performance, winning matches, and scoring goals are undoubtedly important, this past year has perhaps demonstrated the wider benefits and joys of being involved in the sport. So take a moment to think about why you're playing football and if it still serves the purpose that you want it to. Consider what your goals are, both within powerchair football and in life, and whether what you're doing at the moment is bringing you closer to your goals or further away. So for example, you might wish to work towards playing for your national team, in which case, consider if what you're doing is bringing you towards that goal. Are you training regularly? Are you developing your skills? You may also wish to develop a career outside of football, in which case, what are you doing with your time to help you work towards that career? The bottom line is, place your time and your effort in the best place for you. This is unique to you and may differ depending on what you're looking to achieve. When considering our athletic identities, it's also important to try and consider yourself as a person first and an athlete or a coach second. So rather than purely focusing on technique, tactics and performance results, try to consider other ways that sport can help you develop as both a person and a performer. For example, competing in sport may help you to learn how to manage pressure. It may give you another level of confidence, increase your motivation and sense of fulfillment. It might present new opportunities, give you that sense of purpose, and develop your social skills and give you meaningful relationships. And so by considering these areas, rather than purely focusing on performing, you will not only develop as an athlete, but as a person too. And this will be really key for both athletes and coaches to remember when returning to sport after a prolonged break during the pandemic. By focusing on these developmental skills that sport can bring us, we'll be setting ourselves up for a more successful and enjoyable return to sport. So, when looking to build a balanced identity, try to reflect on your goals both within football and in life. Think about exploring other hobbies and interests. These can not only give you a broader range of skills, but can also help you to improve your performance by developing different skills and abilities and by giving you more perspective when you come to play football. Engage in education or perhaps a career, and look to maintain and build those social relationships. And by spending time broadening your horizons, you can bring a happier, more balanced self to football. So, some key takeaways from today. Start by reflecting on your identity. Consider the balance or perhaps the lack of balance in your life. Think about how you want to be spending your time and whether this will take you towards your goals. Try to explore other parts of your identity. And by doing all of these things, by creating that varied identity, you're able to bring your best self to football. So that's it for today's mini podcast, but I hope this has given you some ideas on how you can build a balanced identity to help both your well-being and your performance to thrive. Keep an eye out for some more podcasts by me, Erin Pryor from EP Sports Psychology, in partnership with EPFA over the coming months. And if you'd like to get in touch or reach out on social media, you can find me on Twitter at EP Sports Psych, Instagram at EP Sports Psychology, Facebook at Erin Pryor Sports Psychology, or you can get in touch via email at epsportspsychology@gmail.com.